for joining me this afternoon, and I am delighted to host this webinar on Naibor Camps in the heart of Maasai Mara in Kenya. So Naibor is actually our longest standing client at Small World Marketing. I've worked with them for nearly 17 years now. So they are a camp collection that's very, very close to my heart. And they are located in the Maasai Mara Reserve. So here you see this map of Kenya. And the Maasai Mara Reserve is this area here that borders the Serengeti National Park in Tanzania. It's about a 40-minute flight from Wilson Airport, Nairobi, regular scheduled flights down to the Mara Reserve. And the nearest airstrip is Olkiombo Airstrip. It's about a 20-minute drive from the airstrip, but you're right in the heart of the reserve. So your safari drive starts straight away. As soon as you get off that airplane, you can see the animals all around you. And it's a really, really cool transfer through to the property. So this is the location within the reserve. So as I'm sure many of you know, with the Maasai Mara, you have the reserve that borders the Serengeti National Park. And then you have different conservancies that kind of surround the reserve. And when you're in the reserve, you aren't able to do things like walking safaris or night drives. You can only do those in the conservancies itself. But the reserve is right in the heart of the action. So particularly when you have a migration crossing, this map shows you here where the migration moves to in the Mara area and what time of year it comes through. So for us, really, with the Naibor camp, you see it's right in the heart of the location, right on it's about a 10-minute drive to the nearest wildebeest crossing. And the wildebeest start coming through probably kind of July time, end of July, August time. That's when you see the first few, but really September, October is the prime migration time viewing. And we are, as I say, only 10 minutes drive from the nearest wildebeest crossing. So right in the heart of the action. This is a very professionally drawn map of the camp itself. So there's three elements to Naibor. You have Naibor Wilderness, which is 3 rooms, which tends to be taken over by maybe photographic groups or small groups traveling together. You then have Main Naibor, which has 7 tents, and you have Little Naibor around the bend in the river, where you see our resident pod of hippo down the bottom here. You have Little Naibor, which are 2 tents with 2 bedrooms inside each tent. So they are particularly useful for families. And then you have the Main Naibor mess area in the corner of the bend in the river. So as I mentioned, there are 3 tents in Naibor Wilderness. Essentially, it is exactly the same experience as the other 2 Naibor accommodations, but obviously the tents are slightly different. You have the same size tents, but slightly simpler in design, more kind of wrought iron furniture rather than the lovely chunky wood furniture you have in Main Naibor. The location is set back slightly from the river. It also has a private mess area, so this is perfect for small groups. But if you had a couple staying in Naibor Wilderness, maybe whose budget didn't stretch the Main Naibor, if they are, what they'll do is they'll incorporate that couple into the Main Naibor experience. So they'll have dinner in the main area. They'll have they come for pre-dinner drinks around the main area. They just basically stay in Naibor Wilderness unless the camp is full, and then they'll keep the Naibor Wilderness 3 rooms together, the Main Naibor 3 rooms together as well. You then have Main Naibor, which is 7 tents, located, lovely, beautiful, big, chunky fig tree wooden furniture, but very light and spacious and airy. And then you have Little Naibor, which is brilliant for families in particular, because you can, both the bedrooms have ensuite bathrooms, they have a little lounge area in the middle, so you can still be on the same canvas as your children, but still private, with the 2 rooms being zipped up individually. So it's located on the Talek River, right in the heart of the Maasai Mara Reserve. It's about a 40-minute flight from Wilson Airport. You can drive by car. Actually, the road is much improved. I've ridden 6 hours by road from Nairobi, but it's actually probably down to about 4 now, because they've really improved the road through to the Talek Conservancy. So actually it is something you could possibly do by car now, whereas before we would never recommended it because the last part of the road was just so bumpy. The rates are listed here as well, and we have a 4 nights for the price of 3 that runs throughout the year, and then 3 for 2 in the first part of the year as well, but I'll show you that offer in more detail. Then in terms of activities, we have game walks. Obviously, you're right in the heart of the prime game viewing area. So the main activity is game drives. If you have guests that want to do game walks, we can arrange that. We go to the Talek Conservancy, and so we do the walk in the reserve. But most of our guests coming to Naibor will twin with somewhere else, maybe in Laikipia, that offer walking safaris and have a more kind of immersive safari experience. So for me, the prime safari experience in Kenya would be to come to the Maasai Mara first, see that quintessential African savannah that you imagined Africa as a kid, and all that game, and do mainly game drives, and then twin with someone like Laikipia, where you can have a much more of an immersive safari experience. So in Laikipia area, it's more about getting out, it's more about doing game walks, horse riding, more of a kind of immersive safari experience. The two destinations work really, really well together. We can also organise hot air balloon rides as well. It's always worth booking them in advance because they do get very booked up, and particularly, obviously, they can't fly every day if the weather's not right. So they do tend to get overbooked. So I definitely recommend you booking your guests hot air balloon rides before they come. And then cultural village visits as well, which I'll tell you more about later on. So these are offers that we've run for the last probably 10 years. We haven't confirmed for 2024 yet, but I'm sure we will. And it's 4 nights the price of 3 throughout the whole of 2023, and 3 for 2 for the first half of the year. So 3rd of Jan through to the 15th of July, and also 1st of November through to the 20th of December. So that is a massive, massive cost saving, doing 3 nights at the price of 2. So these are the rooms themselves. This is main Naibor. As I mentioned, this beautiful, big, chunky wooden furniture, big day bed. They have a lovely vanity unit outside, and then they all have ensuite bathrooms with flushing toilets. But they also have safari showers. Now, safari showers I love. I know Americans in particular always get quite nervous when they don't have running water, but trust me, I have tried to outstay a safari shower and it's impossible. The buckets they use are enormous. It's just a really kind of, I think it's quite a kind of romantic, old school style way of having a shower. And yes, these are tents themselves. So just really big, spacious, light canvas. So very kind of airy. And then these are the rooms in Little Naibor. So as I mentioned, you have 2 bedrooms with 2 ensuite bathrooms either side of the bedroom. Then you have this shared lounge area, and those rooms zip up at night. And we're actually about to add an additional element where you can zip up the whole lounge area as well, because particularly we find sometimes with guests who have children in the second room, they want to feel they can get access to them easily without having to worry about the area being open. So Little Naibor is more kind of Moroccan in style, wooden flooring, lovely kind of Moroccan style furniture and furnishings, an ensuite bathroom. And then in the second bedroom, I have 3 children and I stayed there 18 months ago, and you could easily fit 3 beds in the second bedroom. You have your own dining area, so you have private dining if you want to. But we find that actually most guests like coming to the main Naibor camp to join in with the rest of the guests for dinner. And pre-dinner drinks. But if you had someone who wanted to be a bit more private, that's no problem. You can have private dining there, and you have your own little campfire there as well. So this is the main mess area. So this is a beautiful big decked area they actually expanded the deck even more, so it moves out. It's about twice that width now, and they've created a bar where you see this sofa here. They're just creating a bar at the moment. So next time we do this presentation, hopefully I'll have some photographs of that new area. But it's going to be a really, really cool bar area where guests can congregate, and after they've had their dinners or whatever, they can come and sit down and have a drink as well. But it's overlooking the Talek River, and what's lovely is that you see the plains on the other side of the river. You can sit there on these big bean bags and just watch, particularly during the migration, just watch all the wildebeest moving through. It's quite remarkable. They do have Wi-Fi in this area only, not in the rooms. And then you can see beyond the lounges our dining area as well. So dining experience at Naibor is they are fully hosted in the evening. During the lunchtime, it's more informal, it's more buffet style under the trees, but in the evening, they're actually all hosted around the table. If you did have guests who want to be a bit more private, that's no problem, they can set up private dining for them. But actually, it's a really fun experience eating all together, and you always meet interesting people, and you've always got something to talk about in common, because it's mainly about what you've seen that day. This is a photograph I took when I was there last, and it's just to show you the lunchtime setup. Just a really lovely buffet, light lunch setup under the trees when you come back from your game drive. And they also have a spa. So you have a massage to the sound of wildebeest grunting in the background, which is always quite a fun experience. Naibor Wilderness is our kind of entry-level rooms, and there's 3 of these, and they also have their own mess area as well. So these are used often by maybe small private guided photography groups, or just groups traveling together, or even an individual couple. So still the same big tents, ensuite bathrooms, spacious tents. This is the mess area. So the idea behind this mess area here is it meant that the camp could either be a self-contained unit, or if you did have a couple who were staying in Naibor Wilderness, didn't want to walk all the way down to main Naibor to relax on the sofas, they can actually just chill out here in their mess area that's nearer their rooms. So this is my daughter posing these ones. For me, this area is just amazing for family travel because you are right in the heart of the action. So you go out on a game drive and you just see so much game. This is Jackson, our guide, who was brilliant because actually he was a really good photographer. So what he said to me at the beginning of our stay is he said that, do you mind if I take photographs? And I was like, no, not at all. And he then shared the photographs with me at the end of the stay. So normally it's me behind the camera, but actually in this instance, it was lovely because he would then share the photographs with us afterwards. I mean, it's lovely whether you're out on a game drive and you stop for sundowner and the kids decide to climb a tree, or you're just in the camp looking out over the river. It's just the most perfect spot for families because there's so much going on, and because those little Naibor tents are so brilliantly designed for families, it works really, really well. So in terms of activities, as I say, you are in the quintessential African safari experience in the quintessential African savannah, big grassy plains, flat-topped acacia trees, just game all around you. There is the reserve can get busier, and it's also really, really important during the migration time. It can get very, very busy. But where we're so lucky is because we are only 10 minutes drive from the nearest wildebeest crossing, we essentially get there first. Those guys that come in from the conservancies have at least an hour's drive to come in. So the great thing is that our guides will take our guests down to see the wildebeest crossing first thing in the morning. And then once all the vehicles come, they'll just move on and I'll take them somewhere else. So they're really, really good at taking them away from the crowds and finding a good game spot, but actually then, they know all the places where you can kind of go and just be a bit quieter. And this is our walking safari experience. As I mentioned, you can go to the Tannic Conservancy and do walking from there. And then the cultural visit. We did this obviously with my family, as you can see. But what I really loved is that I'm always a bit apprehensive about this kind of experience and whether it's too kind of touristy. But actually, what was really lovely is that we went with some of the staff who actually came from the village. And so it was much more of a kind of natural experience. Yes, we were still tourists, we were still visiting them and experiencing it, but actually it was lovely to feel that we were the only tourists there. They did bring out the bees to sell at the end of the experience, but actually it didn't feel at all touristy. And what was really good fun, and what I would always recommend you say to your clients, is take a ball. If you're traveling as a family, take a ball, take a pump so you can blow the ball up. And we took some mini rugby balls, which they just couldn't believe because they were totally confused by the way they bounced in different directions. And straight away you have, a whole gang of kids wanting to play with your children, which is just lovely. But really for us, for Naibor, the amazing experience is the location. You cannot get a better location. You are right in the heart of the game viewing area. Because you are right in so near the wildebeest crossings, you are there first, so you can get in and then get out before the crowds come. A lot of photographers come down to the conservancies and use this area to do their photographic safaris because it is such prime game viewing area. And obviously we have the migration, as I mentioned, the migration comes through the Mara Reserve, September, October time, but you can see the wildebeest starting to come from about end of July, and then they can last beyond October. But this is a really useful map from the Africa Hub, our sister company, where you can actually see how the migration works, and you can download that by going on the Africa Hub's website. And the migration is the most phenomenal experience to witness. We actually have at Naibor, our guide took us, although we weren't there in the migration crossing time, he took us to the crossings where he uses, which are much quieter. The wildebeest and zebra still cross there, but it's not the main crossing. So because they are located right there, they know the secret places to go. But this is the kind of sites you can see during the migration time. So just a quick recap. So Naibor Camp is located on Tannic River, right in the heart of the Maasai Mara Reserve. It's only a 40-minute flight from Wilson Airport, and Old Kiombo is the nearest airstrip. These are our rates, but don't forget we have a 4 nights at the price of 3 and 3 for 2 for the first half of the year, and 1st of November through to 20th of December. So really, really affordable. Different activities we can do, and then these are our special offers that are running throughout this year and probably next year as well. So why Naibor? Well, the location is just phenomenal. The accommodation, having those 3 different types of accommodation, suits people, travelers of all kinds of budgets. And it's a classic safari in style. It's big game viewing, amazing feedback, amazing guiding, and great food. So it really is a very, very safe sell.